Yahoo! Prof here, and you guys can't see me at all. Dun dun dun! What? You get a preview of a webcam in the box. And I'll move myself down into the corner over here. Ghetto corner cam. I already made this video once. I went to go post it today, and it wasn't there. Then I looked down my folder in the folder on this machine here, which you're going to see momentarily. Um, it's videos, screen recordings. Here you go. Here. The reason why we also don't have the large icon view right now is because I was trying to find this shit. 313 was the last recording. Yesterday was 626. Yeah, that math does not work very well, does it? I also did add it to my Resilio sync now. Now that there is a dedicated screen recordings folder in Windows, I will gladly sync that around all my machines. On the desktop and the server, they get everything, but then all the other machines get the only sync what they create, or if you want to, like, you can double click on it and, like you would with any cloud storage, or it'll download it if you need it, sort of thing. Um, did the same thing for the camera roll as well, which is where the video for this would have gone. Just because I was like, I remember this and I was like, oh yeah, the camera roll too. I bet there's some stuff on my laptop and other devices that is not on my desktop. And if it's on the desktop or the server, uh, might as well not be there. Because that's at least already the major management of things. But that is not why we're here today. Why we are here today, and technically we were here yesterday, is this right here. The Sony Inzone buds, and the case is dead. Yeah, I forgot to charge them after the last video. Because I didn't expect to have to make another one. It's actually red. Red? Which camera am I looking at? Here, look. It's Grumpy. Grumpy. Yeah, these are my glass clear Inzone buds. I ran for a bit over a year the original Inzone buds. They're still right over there. I'm gonna update them. I gotta decide what I want to do with them. Um, but thanks to you guys for using my affiliate links down below in the video, that I was able to pick these up. And otherwise I never would have, because my other pair is fully functional, fully operational. I just like them enough that when the clear colorway come out, and um, you guys know, as I love transparent products, and with this glass clear purple is beautiful, beautiful. The only downside that I have with it is, and I can't really show you because it's down on the top of the computer there, is I need to figure out a way to block the LED. I think even like thin electrical tape might be too thick. It would block it, but I gotta figure that out because um, at night when I was using these, even not at night, in a dark situation, the InZone Bud receiver was designed to have like a black housing on it. And now that it's translucent, holy, is that LED bright. So I just need a little bit of strip of tape over it's not even like where the LED comes out that's bright. It's where the LED wasn't thought to come out because it would have been black plastic. It's blinding in the dark. Like, say if I'm sitting on my laptop watching anime or something, and somebody else is trying to sleep, or even I'm trying to focus on the show, bright ass LED. So, but I seriously do like these. I think these are, you're actually hearing me on them right now, by the way. At least you should be. I think these are yes, you should be hearing me on these now. That was the whole point of this video too, because when I did the original videos on these, I don't think I had audio from them. I will say the quality could be better. I think it does still sound like you're on a Bluetooth microphone. But you gotta remember the mics are, okay, I can show you on this here, right there. There's like a black circle right there. So I think really how it's at, it might be beamforming to capture you, but think about it, these are pointed out this way. That's some weird ass beamforming. I almost think it may be actually getting, and it may help because I have triple monitor here, that it's actually getting the reflection more. I'm unsure on that. That's why this still can basically never sound as good as, like, a proper boom mic. That is why, the telephone was shaped the way it is, to put the microphone by your mouth. Really should be at the corner of your mouth right here, so you're talking past it. um, but it's as close as it can be. Um, we'll have a headset that's coming thanks to one of you guys that commented where you're like, how do you like the Sony MV1s on the recent MDR V7 video? And I do like them a lot. Turns out, and they commented this, that there's now an H6 Air in Inzone, same as this software we're looking at here, H6 Air that uses the Sony MV1 drivers. So once again, thanks to you guys using affiliate, and I might have used a couple credit card points um, of my own, from paying it off. Basically this is called guy math. I didn't have to pay for it because I used like gift cards, gift certificates, points. I didn't pay for it then. It didn't cost anything. Wink, wink. But I have an H6 Air coming on the way here. Some of this may apply to it. So I talked about, and I seriously thought I almost had to make this video yesterday and say how this was not a thing. Breathing heavily. Because I went in here, installed the software, turned on Spatial Surround, and I went into Windows, and I had read reviews where they say that it shows up as like 5.1 or 7.1. It actually shows up as 7.1 if you do it right. But initially, even with the Inzone software installed, it only showed up as 2-channel. And I thought I was going to have to make a short or something being like, hey, as much as I told you guys that, guys and gals out there, that this does proper 7.1 surround in Windows, well, it doesn't. Well, I was wrong. And I was able to test it. I used Call of Duty, which is what I'm going to be playing later or shortly. And what you have to do, though, at least the trick that I had to do, was once you install the software, you have to turn on Spatial Surround right here, right? Still will not show up. There you go. I'm queuing my Call of Duty update here. It still will not show up as the 7.1 surround sound in two windows. Why is that important? Because if you're showing as 7.1 surround two windows, at least two apps that are not spatial surround aware, like your standard PC games or apps and stuff like that, it will show up as a 7.1 surround sound system. And then what it does, instead of most spatial surround that you guys are hearing, or like the cheap 5.1 or surround sound dongles that come with headsets, those are upsampling. They're taking two channels and trying to make it sound like 5.1 or 7.1 or Dolby Atmos or whatever, right? In this case, because it is showing up as a 7.1 surround sound or surround sound system, even though it's only two channels here, they are downsampling. So they're getting surround sound information and then turning it into what they call spatial sound, which is like, what is it, binaural stereo or something like that? I can look up that term. Um, yeah, I spelled it wrong, but I was correct. So basically, it's you only have two ears, so two speakers is enough to make surround sound, but you have to mix the sound correctly. Um, and it does this. Now, how do you know that it actually does 7.1? Well, you get yourself out the old sound app that is from Control Panel. By the way, you can add that to your start menu. I think I've made a video on that before, but you can't just pin it from Control Panel. You also, in my opinion, should just pin all Control Panel items like this guy here. If you drag that to your desktop, it'll make a shortcut. See, like that. And then you can pin that shortcut to your start menu. You, however, cannot do that if you go right here. So you can say create shortcut, but it will not let you pin that shortcut to your start menu. This one, look, you pin the start menu, pin quick access. Specifically sound for some reason. There's one other one in here too that does that. But specifically sound will not. But I recommend grabbing all control panel items because this is really, in my opinion, how you should navigate control panel. If you're using categories, I don't understand you. If anything, I wish we could go back to the Windows Vista one, where it was just a list, an alphabetical list. That was even easier to navigate. Because this will change depending on the width of the window, which is annoying as shit. The other one in here that you might want to pin is if you, because it's buried, is networking, and then you got to go to change adapter settings. You see when it even pops out a separate window, just grab that, make a desktop shortcut, then pin that desktop shortcut to your start menu. This is the real networking menu. The new one's actually gotten like quite good. There are even some things in there that are easier to do in this. But if you're doing anything with proper networking, especially for mucking around with 10 gig, you're gonna have to be in here. Just pin it. The easiest and most true way to get like Wi-Fi off to is go in here and disable. Then it's like off, off. But back to this, use the sound menu. See, I'm looking for it. I can't find the sound menu right there. It's gonna pop this guy up. On this, normally, if you don't have spatial audio on, and I can't really show it to you without like messing up my own settings now, these will both be headsets. But once you have spatial audio on, the Inzone Buds game becomes a speaker. It should be noted that by default with the Inzone Buds, in Windows they set both as you go to headset earphone, both like this is your here. If we go here, there's default device and default communication device, right? Right now, because we're recording, that's a communication device. But when you're doing media, basically, you'll use the default device. So what you want to do is you want to set the game one, and it's actually in the guide from Sony. They tell you how to do this, but you want to set that as the default device, and you leave this one as default communication device. What that does is it lets you do independent volume levels, lets you do chat mix, all sorts of good stuff like that. What that does do though, once you have spatial sound on, and here's the trick by the way, you turn this on, it still was showing as the headphones here, 2-channel. I then had to unplug and replug the dongle. And what that did was then when it was plugged back in, it showed up as a speaker. Now, if you're having trouble there, one troubleshooting technique I would say is unplug it, flip it to the mobile and PS5 and plug it back in. The app will tell you that's wrong. Unplug it, switch it back to PC, plug it back in, then it'll show up as a speaker. I've had to do that once, but that's only like the first time you install this app. This is now the second or third time I've opened up this app, and I've had zero problems. It just because it gets a different driver actually, and then it shows up as speakers. So then, how can you tell it's on 7.1? If you go to properties, is it going to say anywhere in here? LRC, so it's left, right, center, sub. Right there. Otherwise, go here, go configure speakers, 7.1 surround. Now, normally, and I did try this right away, you want to use this trick. If you're using like an actual home theater or PC surround setup or a DAC amp, you want to go through here, leave all the optional speakers on, and you want to enable these full range. What that does is it sends the LFE channel that goes to the subwoofer normally to all the speakers. The reason why you normally want that is in like a home theater situation, your receiver is actually doing the crossover stuff. So you don't want the PC to have any input on, oh, well, we're not sending the low end to the channels. Like, what even is Windows' cutoff for that, if that makes sense. Um, you want to use your home theater receiver, your DAC amp, your whatever else is usually going to be doing this. However, and I thought this may I tried it here. What ends up happening though is because Sony assumes the default configuration when they do the spatial audio, it makes it very bloated, and because there's way too much low end. Because instead of they already know that this has the low end, the subwoofer here, and then they mix it into your left and right channel, right? Well, when every speaker now has low end and they mix in the subwoofer, it's just too much. So do not do my usual trick of going in here and saying everything's full range. For most times you want to do that, like, you want to go right here on my topping DX9, configure your speakers, next, and you want to say they're full range because they are full range. And your headphones, good headphones are going to be full range. You don't want Windows controlling this. In this case, I want the DX9 controlling crossovers, or in my case, once I'm back in the office, I have studio monitor speakers. or just called monitor speakers. Um, they're near field. I also have a subwoofer that goes with them. I don't want Windows touching that audio. In this case, I don't want the DAC amp touching that audio either because it passes through the subwoofer. The subwoofer has a crossover, then it goes up to the um, main front speakers. Um, so you don't want this touching it. That's why you set this to full range. I tried that with this, and it just makes them, because that's not the default configuration of Windows, it just makes them way too bloated, way too boomy. You don't want to do that. But yeah, that is a way, and you notice spatial surround goes away once you actually have real surround. So you can't go like on the DX9 here. Sorry, wrong button. And you can't enable the default Windows one, which is free, which is Windows Sonic, which actually does work, but it's not very good. Dolby Atmos, Bad Seed Tech showed that it was actually pretty great for Modern Warfare 3, which was 2 Call of Duty games ago. And I was using it all through that one. I don't think I'm using it right now. And that was because I think Black Ops 6 added like a native spatial surround, like you can just set it in game, and then there's actually like a subscription one. I do have both of these from the home theater area, or because of my home theater PC, because it can do Atmos and DTS. Um, and what ends up happening is some of the home theater stuff, I think Dolby Atmos might be free, DTS home theater might not be. Um, I don't know for sure, but I would have issues because I don't have the licenses for the apps. Where if the handshake between the HDMI stopped working, um, I would lose the PC would lose that it can actually send like Atmos or DTS to the receiver right over HDMI, and it would lose that, and it would default to stereo. And I go to play something without realizing it had done this, and I'm like, "Huh, what happened? Where'd it go?" And then sometimes it would even require a reboot to get it to like redetect. If you're going way back, it used to sometimes even take an unplug or replug of the HDMI or a full power cycle of the receiver to fix all that stuff. What I found to be an easier and faster solution was just buy the apps in the app in the Microsoft Store. Um, and then they're like, "Oh, you gave in, yada yada yada." Yeah, but I use them all the time. Also, don't pay full price; they're not cheap. Like if we go to Dolby Access, I believe it's called. This is what gives you. Oh, it turns out this is what gives you access to the Dolby stuff, the Dolby Access app. Haha, right? Um, keep an eye out though. I've seen. I want to say PC World might have had like a thing saying that this was on sale one time. Um, and I picked it up, and they might have said like there was like a general sale on like audio apps or something, and that's when I ended up buying the DTS one as well. Your DTS Sound Unbound. Bought that one as well. I would say don't pay the full price for either of them. I don't because I have them. It doesn't say Dolby Access cost. Um, is it gonna say I already have it? Yeah, it's gonna say I already have it. I think it might be 15 bucks or something. No, no. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You can get like five. Yeah, here. Dolby Atmos costs 14.99 to enable. Um, There's like a CNET article from like 2017. Like I've bought up most of these ages and ages ago. It was only actually within I want to say the Modern Warfare 3 era when Bad Sea Tech kind of like pulled it back out and he's like, yeah, it's actually because I was using it in the home theater all the time. But it's actually like legit for Modern Warfare 3, and I was like, holy, it is. It's like you can like it ties in real well to that game. Um, but yeah, they'll go on sale randomly. Like Microsoft's App Store has sales. Um, Either way, I think it's beneficial if a game or a I actually run DTS in the home theater now rather than Atmos. The Atmos is there if something has compatibility for it. But I would recommend if something doesn't have compatibility, I think the DTS sounds better personally. I think it's a little bit newer, but this kind of goes back to the DVD era as well. DTS sounded better back then, just because Dolby pays to be in more things and pays for more advertisement doesn't mean it sounds better. It does mean that more often than not it is more compatible though. So I guess that is like the one place where like right now we're doing 7.1. So if your game's going to send surround sound, and then Sony's spatial audio is going to downsample that to binaural stereo, or what they call spatial sound. Sony also has their own branding, which I'm surprised they're not using here, which is something 360. That is to be competitive with um, Sony 360 audio. The headset that you'll be seeing, well, technically not the headset, the MV1 was actually designed to edit this. Yeah, Sony 360 reality audio. Um, Technically, the MV1 was actually designed to edit that and Atmos. Oh, not DTS, which is what I've been using. And oh no, it's not certified. Oh, just JK. But I'm surprised. So I'm surprised they're using spatial audio, which I think is more Apple's term, but it might be the more accepted term than their actual own branding, like their own like stamp. Um, and Yeah, so it's getting 7.1 from games. So if a game actually has proper Dolby Atmos, or even less likely DTS integration, or if it's like the Call of Duty games where they actually have their own hook into like third party spatial stuff that's even tuned to your ears, and you can go to like get a hearing test and all this crazy stuff. Um, you want to use that, not this. Um, but that's going to be less compatible. Whereas basically this spatial audio can downsample anything that if a game can output surround sound, which even JRPGs from 2 decades ago can, um, then it'll give you surround sound in a little bud. Here, little bud, little guy. Um, so there's really not much else you have to or can do here. Um, Another big thing that I can't really show you. Watch my video on these guys or the originals. I think the glass shows like I actually legitimately use these, and I got used to them. Where there's the original video, I thought like I'm like, oh, these seem like they'll be useful, and they are. Basically, think of having like an earbud, but instead of being Bluetooth oriented and for like media consumption and phone calls, it is more PC oriented because you plug it directly in the USB port and it just fucking works, which Bluetooth does not do always on PC. It might one day, it won't the next. Um, and then you can like do the things here where it gets split out, where not all Bluetooth devices have support for that or can do that, or like the AirPods. If it uses chat mode, which it will automatically switch to as soon as you start using the mic, you lose the higher quality of the like I think they call it the media mode or whatever on it. Like because of the older Bluetooth standard they're using, um, it can't do like a media mode audio with um microphone working effectively. It reverts back. And this is no FUD saying. I literally think I showed in some of the previous videos where I would just you can take you need Bluetooth LE if you want to use them for Bluetooth LE. Though you can use them as everyday earbuds, I don't know if they're the best for that. I run AirPods Pro just in my pocket all the time to work with the phone, and then I keep these in my bag and I use them with any other device that because I can just plug the receiver into. It's stupid easy, stupid simple. It immediately works. It has worked on my phone. The power amp actually even had a because they actually have different response being on Bluetooth and on the USB because the USB is much higher quality. But it had a profile in Power Amp, which is like the media player you probably should be using on Android. For the a corrective sound curve for the USB variant, which is kind of crazy. Um, I don't really plan to use them that way, but I just gave them a test. Also, like with the Pixel 7 Pro, I think I had at the time. It might even been the Pixel 9 actually. Now I think about it, I didn't have a new enough version of Android, even though like technically it was in my phone. Like Bluetooth LE with LE audio support is very, very minimally supported. You have to have the exact right combination of phone, of uh, audio device, of whatever. But why has it been popularized? Well, it's much better quality than the SBC, which is Bluetooth standard. And it is low because LE audio is part of Bluetooth LE, which is low energy, and then it's been mandated by the government to be in hearing aids now. That was something that came right towards the end of Biden, if I recall correctly. Um, and that's really good because what was happening is all the hearing aid companies were coming up with proprietary means to do wireless. Like, oh, we'll make a little stand that you can then connect your hearing aid to that it can Bluetooth to other stuff. Rather than, I mean, like they're already in your ears, they're already Bluetooth. Why is it not just Bluetooth? And they made it so what we needed though was a Bluetooth standard that was low energy enough to be in the hearing aid. That is also part of the reason why stuff like the AirPods Pro 2 USB-C, I believe it is. I just have the Lightning one. Um, been able to be hearing aids now and be certified because they meet that Bluetooth LE and they can do Bluetooth LE. Or it's in the hardware. So that's part of why they can qualify is because they have that. So that's all good and dandy. You just got to be aware that these only do Bluetooth LE audio, and that's the LC3 codec if you want to do Bluetooth with them. So you got to have a pretty new device to do that. Otherwise, I bet I would put money on if you can take this USB receiver, you could probably even plug it directly into a TV. And as long as that supports USB audio, which I don't know if you guys know this, but most TVs support USB keyboards. If it's just generic enough keyboard and you just plug it in, it'll work. You see that all the time in the Geek Squad days to set up TVs because it's way faster typing in Wi-Fi and interfacing using arrow keys in a keyboard. Um, you know, super duper handy. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to show you and like prove that yep, if you go here and you turn on spatial sound, unplug, replug your receiver, you will get 7-point proper detected, 7.1 surround, and I even played some Call of Dudes here with it, and it does properly work. You have to leave this spatial sound off or on, sorry. If you turn it off, you get in this weird state of it's sending 7.1, but it's not down mixing it. Don't be in that land. Either leave it off and like make sure it shows this 2.0 in the audio sound thing, or turn it on, which would be my recommendation if you're using it on PC and you're not just using it like on my work computer. I don't install software. I only need 2 channel. Listen to music. I go on calls, etc. I have no need for the control of this. The one thing, and it is mentioned on some people's reviews that did test spatial sound on PC. Not all the reviews that I read that tested spatial sound did look into how it worked like I did, where it's actually receiving 7.1 from the system or the games or the apps and then downsampling. They didn't look into that, but they did mention sound quality, and a lot of people said it sounded worse because the mid-range dips, and holy hell does it. Um, don't know why. Sony, if you could fix that, that would be great. What we want when we get spatial sound is we want the exact same sound that we are used to in 2 channel in spatial sound, except it's now spatial. So do better. How I have chosen to correct this, because I don't have like a hears or a head that can do testing, and I could tell right away the mid was gone, and then I was like, hey, am I just feeling this? Gunshots sounded weird, etc., etc. Like I'm like, it stuff's not right. I ended up going with this is the normal flat one, just flat across the board. That's fine if you're not in spatial audio. If you're in spatial audio or not in spatial audio, these aren't like flat. They're a little bit V-shaped because they are based on Inzone buds based. Let's do Sony Inzone buds. Um, I wonder if it says right on their website if that they're based on another one because their newer headphones do. They have latch down and they're very smart. I will touch on that in my H6 Air review. Apparently they were refined with Fnatic. I believe it Sony bought Fnatic now or Fnatic Gear. I don't know if they have anything with the actual esports team, but they bought Fnatic Gear gaming peripherals. That's why the new Mouse A looks a lot like the Fnatic Bolt. I've reviewed it. The Mouse A is a great mouse. Um, I don't think they call it out on the website like they do on the new ones. Well, on the newer um, headsets, use what drivers? Um, they just straight up call out, and this is smart of Sony to do it. Now they're doing it, and also it's smart of them to do it in the first place. Um, XM1000. Oh, I'm gonna have to ask Gemini because Google's being just a piece of trash. Searching blah, 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 blah. XM1000 Mark V, XM1000 M5. Um, so those do have a little bit of a V shape. That's what I was saying here, but they're pretty darn flat. And I like them in their standard profile for just a quick earbud you're tossing in. Um, However, once you get into spatial surround, that the mids kind of fall out, um, and that doesn't help. Uh, no. This is the closest I've gotten without doing testing, finding out what exact ranges these have lost. Like somebody would actually have to do testing on them. Um, I mean, you could do it by year two. Some people can do that. But you would have to really look at what ranges dip due to spatial sound and compensate. Otherwise, just throw in an FPS2. I had a much better experience once I did that. You still get the much more open thing, but then it brings the mids back up because they're like sunk with whatever's happening with the spatial sound. Um, this is the exact opposite of what we want. You know, it adds more low end and cuts the highs. This one, immersive, sets to a sound which is sensitive to the spatial information of games. Maybe that's why they put RPG adventure. Maybe give it a shot. With your single player. We don't want bass music video is once again killing up here, boosting that. I also don't know what immersive means here. I think that means it's like adaptively changing it or something. Um, yeah, but this seemed pretty, and it's not even like a huge thing. It's -3 in some places, up to +3 in other places. It's not a huge. Um, some of that immersive, I believe, means that it's like adapting and changing. Um, say immersive sound. If we go to custom immersive sound mode, I don't really look into this any more than they do actually have a pretty good manual. I'd have to like read up on some of that. But FPS2 is what I had luck with, and not just for I'm playing Call of Duty, so I need FPS. No, no, no. We're trying to bring those mids back up. And I think a bit because it's mixing in that LFE channel, it does get a bit like boomy, and this cuts that a little bit. I think it sounds much flatter. Like I said, without somebody doing proper testing and figuring out what ranges get like what ranges in the mids effectively get crushed by the spatial sound, and literally making um, a equalizer to counteract it, which Sony should just do and fix. Um, this is probably the closest quick and easy thing you're going to get. Don't use dynamic range control. That's like dynamic compression. Makes you basically squishes everything into a tighter band. Like makes everything sound like ass. Even in Call of Duty where you just have gunshots and stuff like that, it just everything just. Um, I did figure out because one thing that's always bugged me is that it was a double cycle, meaning you had noise canceling, ambient sound, and off. I don't want the off. Maybe some of you want the off. And the sounds on these, that is another complaint, is like the AirPods are very, very obvious. Like it's boot a beep, boot a boop, like that sort of thing. All three of these sound very similar. Now, because there's only two of them on, there is more distinction, but at least like, hey, if it doesn't do noise canceling, it's obviously letting sound in. Um, you know, pretty simple there. Ooh, charging case, there's why it's grumpy. Um, so I changed that. You could actually change this. I did try doing. I wanted to add double tap for play pause, triple tap for next track. With how fast it detects taps, that is not happening. That is why they've only done one tap and hold. Because often when I would try to do double tap, I would double raise the volume. So I would, you can try that stuff yourself. Um, okay, if I switch this, now we're in noise canceling mode. Once you're in noise canceling mode, you can turn on side tone right here, and you can crank that up. Here's the thing. You might be able to turn on an off mode as well. If you're using that mode, maybe you're using the off mode at home. But in noise canceling, there's no point. The reason why is if I pump this up here, right, and now I have this pumped up and I can hear myself in the side tone with these, right? Here's the thing, I can also hear some of the ambient sounds because how it's doing this is a little bit different than the ambient sound. But if that's what you want, don't use side tone. Switch it back to ambient. Like, hopefully that makes sense. And I did play with side tone when in ambient, and there were some other comments. I think we were looking on Reddit. You know, this is a lost version of the video, like while I was trying to test this. And I think Reddit confirmed to me that because you're already in ambient mode and it's already piping sound in, you can't also, or enabling side tone at the same time doesn't have any effect. You have to be in noise canceling or off. Um, Now, and really, if you're noise canceling, I don't see the point of side tone because you have to basically have it up all the way for it to be effective at all. And at that point, you're getting to the point where just use ambient level. If you are an off person, like say you want to save some battery or something, or you're at home so you don't need to do the noise cancel, but you don't want sound coming in, then side tone. I think side tone is going to come in more with other headsets um, like the H6 Air you're going to see, because that is both 3.5 mil, but it comes with a USB-C dongle that does a lot of this stuff, or like makes it be able to interface with this. Um, but on the newer ones, which we'll cover more in the H6 Air, I don't know if I'll show you pages, but the H6 Air is just based on the Sony MV1 drivers. The H9 V2 now, same head, almost the same headband as the H6 Air. I think it's a bit heavier though because it has um what do you want to call them built in um Bluetooth. You know, Bluetooth. So it has batteries and stuff built in. But here's this. Here's the thing. These guys, these were planar magnetics. They're under the PlayStation brand. These and then they're the wireless version, the earbud versions of these. Those were I actually looked into those because I got these and I was like, I should get those. No, the wireless earbud ones were received even worse than these. And the pairing, it took me 30 minutes to pair a second receiver to these. 30, 20, maybe 20 minutes. I may have a whole video bitching about it though. It's like this has a button on it and the receiver has like a recess button you have to use a sim tool to press, but there's just a button. Um, and then these have multiple buttons and taps. These have buttons and taps. They're stuff like that. This to operate the entire thing has one button. Um, Nobody from their headphone department worked on those. That was fully made by PlayStation, and you can fucking tell. Now that they've been in zone once, these are already on the or those XM1000 Mark Fives, like the wireless earbuds, or those would be the the WF XM1000 Mark V, so the in-ear buds. Well, now they are doing this, and they just straight up are like, where does it say it here? Am I blind? Or did it get hidden again? Did they do? Oh, here, yeah, it's even above the fold. Here you go. Based on the XM1000 Mark VI. So this is based on the newer over-ear one. They just have it there. Second line. Second line. And then if we go to the, where do we need to go? Gaming gear, headsets, right? These, they were fine, right? Not very well received, heavy, bulky. Still a improvement over this, though. And the reason why these are here is because they're planar magnetic. A lot of people said they sounded bad. I think they actually sound quite good. The problem is that now with the Inzone stuff, these are basically unsupported, and I need a PS5 to update them. Luckily, I got some pros at the office at work that have PS5s, and one of them updated them once already. Um, and I did manage to have, even though I think they've discontinued the receivers now because they're so fucking hard to pair, I have two of them. And as long as you only use these two, because here's this great thing for pairing, instead of like cycling through the devices that you have paired, like a normal device, these only connect to the last device it was paired to, whether that be Bluetooth or that receiver. So, and if somebody connects that to Bluetooth in the meantime and you click it, you'll go to the last dongle you used. But it will just like, I don't know how you get to the other. Oh, there's a weird thing too of you can't cycle connections if both are available. I literally have to like say well, how I wanted this to work is dongle one in here in my work laptop for the PC, dongle two because I've needed to use headphones out in the home theater PC, plug dongle two out there, hit the button to switch. No, 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 because it's in range of dongle one still, I have to unplug dongle one, otherwise it will not connect to dongle two. It's just insanity. The InZone buds already did not have that problem. Now they even more so don't have that problem. Now that basically these are just based on the already Sony Bluetooth earbuds, just with better mics, better battery life, better quality with the USB dongle, easier use with the USB dongle. Well, these just came out as well, and one of you guys in the comments brought them up. They're like, "Hey, what do you think about them? Do you like the MV1? And what do you think about these?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What do I think about these? When did these come out?" Apparently, within the last month or two is when they came out. Um, so there's a pair on the way from Amazon, thanks to the help of you guys using the links down below in the description for affiliate revenue. It was nowhere near enough, but it took a good chunk off, and then the rest I did with credit card points. So you know what they call like girl math? This is boy math. Right here, not there. Features. There you go. Like, it's not the top line about this item, but it's like literally the first huge thing on this page is made with the MDR MV1 driver. Um, yeah, and they look like it, and they look. I've seen pictures on Reddit of people who have these. These like renders or whatever they are don't do them justice. That also looks like a proper cardioid microphone. I think this is gonna be the first pair of gaming headphones. Well, it's a headset because it's got the mic that since the MMX 300 from Beyerdynamic that I am at all impressed. There is now the MMX 330 that has their newer driver in it. But that like I'd actually recommend or use. Um, and we'll see when I get them. But these seem to be hella promising. And if they are that similar to an MV1, these are cheaper than an MV1. So even if you, because this is a detachable mic, even if you take it out, like unless I've heard that the these are a little bit more V-shaped, right? But unless that bothers you, this is potentially a better bet. Also, people are saying these are more comfortable. I will be the I mean, I'm not gonna be the only person, but I'm gonna have some say in that because look what's right here to my left that I wore for the 4 to 6 hours today for work. Sony MV1s, right? I think these are comfortable as hell. Those cups are amazingly comfortable. Look at those giant velour cups. You can see all my schmoo. Um, and yes, I use these much in the same way because what is right there on the side? Is that a Mod Mic wireless magnetic mount? It sure is. Same way I used my M1 STs, and now the M1s are at work because those are cheaper and readily available in the US. So, you know, if something were to happen to them, I can actually replace them. Um, But yeah, that's my preference is at home where I don't have to worry about noise. Open back. Open backs just make your life. I can exist with them on so much longer because my ears are open. They like flow. They you don't feel so constricted inside, and generally have a little bit bigger ear cup. However, what was so cool about these MV ones from Sony, they are only slightly larger than their like M1STs are now M1s. Like they're closed back over ears. These are by far the smallest. If you want to exclude like Grados, like I would say a full circumneural open, like it goes over your ear fully, not just on it. They're like the smallest pair that at least I regularly used. Everything else is quite a bit massively bigger. So if they can make these even lighter, and in this case potentially cheaper, I'm pretty pumped. Um, I'm pretty pumped. I bought them last night already. Like I'm really kind of because I love the MV1s. So if these can have a headband design closer to like the R70Xs, with this sort of like suspended thing that looks much lighter with less material, that might be less durable, but you know, if you're using them at home, you know, these, even if you don't use them as a headset, might be viable as just headphones potentially. Um, so I am very pumped to take a look at those. Uh, and I think they're knocking out of the park. This is what Sony should do. They already design great headphones. Use them like you did here. And like you did with the new. You can tell the difference here. Like, look at the weight difference. They still have the same sort of ID if you look at it, like the same cup shape, but they got rid of all these extraneous greeblies that just made it thick. Like, why have this big chunk of plastic to have a little bit of pad here? Just make the pad go up from the headband. And that comes from the PlayStation design era, where this, I'm sorry, I need to wrap these because they did eventually sell these in black. Um, my hair is actually stuck in the charging port. Um, these look stupid as hell in your head. Look at that. I look stupid as hell. I'm sorry. I do. Whoever thought these look cool, you're wrong. And you probably can't hear me because the there and there. Also, the mic on this, uh, DinkPods did a video. It peaks like hell, except if you make a loud noise, that'll cause it to like recorrect its auto volume leveling. And then if you set it to the correct volume, which is not 100% in Windows, or not 100%, um, then it won't peak. You can set it to the correct level, especially if you actually extend it out like this. Um, but the mic is not good. The planar, I basically bought these because they're like the cheapest pair of planars available at the time, especially from the brand that those came from. Or like the company they bought. So you can kind of see that sort of stuff here in this, right? Where it's getting better, it's getting more reasonable headset shaped and designed. But yeah, then it seems like they're just like, oh, yeah, wait, we have great drivers already in our XM1000 Mark 6, and that's already a very well regarded headphone. What if we just put that in there and strapped a mic to it and gave it USB-C? I'm not going to buy these. See, this is literally the same receiver that I have for these right now. So that's another smart thing. You don't like previously the I believe the over-ear headphones of Sony PlayStation ones had different receivers from the in-ear ones. And then there's now a new receiver, even though it's called the same thing and they're not compatible with each other. Um, like they made a new USB dongle because that one was such a bitch to use, probably. Dude, I mean, like once it works, it's great, but like, fuck. In this case, that's just the same receiver that we already had. Yeah, if you've developed that, why redo it for every new headset that comes out? No, you just take a tech piece technology that you already did for these, which works brilliantly, by the way, and you pair with it a pair of headphones that already has Bluetooth and wireless technology and a battery, and you style it to be in zone, and you add like the boom mic instead of USB mics. You remove the extraneous processing that it doesn't need because it's got the USB adapter. Um, but you use like they already know that um, the speakers sound good because of where they're coming from. They're coming from the headphone side. So I think that's like what's going to benefit InZone, or already has started to benefit InZone. Here too, the mic's the same between the two. Like why develop it? Like why develop different things for different tiers? I understand because they have like cheaper tiers and like yada yada yada. But so many brands will like redevelop the headphones from scratch if they're even developing at all. Most of them are just branding stuff that's at an OEM and being like, oh, can you make it look more like our product? Sony doesn't need to do that. They have an entire headphone brand. Here's a pair that I just reviewed that at the newest is from 1993. They have this in the bag. Yeah, I was interested in this because they bought the tech from another company, right? I think they still helped in the design of this, but it's like, why are you buying an entire other company, which I think is Oddities, um, to make these, right? I mean, you wanted the planar tech, I understand that, but like, you know headphones, like InZone's getting that, so, and like I said, that's what gave me hope for these, is because. As much as I could get like Samsung, Sony Link Buds too, they made like they are starting to understand with the Link Buds. They realized people use those for office, and they later on sold a version of the original Link Buds, which are the donut-shaped ones. Um, or are those the second gen donuts? I don't know about the first gen or the second gen donuts. Either way, they started selling a version of them with a USB receiver because if you use Teams and any of the like any of the other like chat apps for meetings and all that sort of shit, just having a USB adapter and not having to faff with Bluetooth is just easier. And those Link Buds are great because they weigh nothing. They can be in your ears all day. Um, and just having that is easier. So like they're like realizing how people are using shit and actually like adapting and changing. It's brilliant. So I was even more impressed like when I saw the H6s. They used MV1. That's crazy because that's like a professional studio monitor speaker. That's like a 300 something dollar pair of headphones. You know, the fact that they're pulling the driver out of there is great. And then I saw that I was like, oh, these look very similar. I wonder what they're doing for these. Oh, similar design. They're probably reusing the headband design. They might be changing the pad a little bit, and then they're using their XM 1000 Mark 6 speakers in it. Brilliant. Same mic. It's a proper cardioid mic as well. Um, Heck yeah, I wasn't going on with this in the previous video that I made, but that's because I didn't know the H6 Air was out and equivalent. This is what Sony should be doing. Why, like, you don't have to work like HyperX. You don't have to work like SteelSeries. You know, um, leverage the parts of your company that you already have that already make great Bluetooth stuff. Why do we have to reinvent how to pair something? It's insane. Like, you make some of the most competent Bluetooth headphones out there. Um, you know, rant aside, I think these are really good. If you want to game with in-ears, that's not something that I would do. Um, I don't know of a better pair. You guys can hit me up. Like I'm talking full wireless in-ear earbuds. You know, and I actually like that they have a little bit more to them versus the XM1000 Mark V version of this would actually fill up this upper part of your ear up here, and it's just way smaller. Um, you can get a little bit of a touch surface then with this. But yeah, I I kept talking about the like it's showing up this proper surround sound to Windows and it being able to do spatial audio properly by down mixing. And I thought the other night I gotta confirm it, and then it didn't do it right away. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to make this short. Um, you know, Pulling that back. Turns out, nope. I just needed to unplug, replug, and popped right up. And I played three full games of Call of Duty. Quite enjoying myself. The only thing I had to figure out I'm like, why does it sound so different? And playing around with the different modes, and then kind of looking for confirmation that other people ran into a similar thing. The one review I found that mentioned that basically wrote off spatial audio because that occurs. And I'm like, dude, if you've got this on, you've got this open, this app open. Uh, did you like? They didn't even bother trying the EQs, and I noticed the sound difference right away. I'm like, ooh, can I correct it? Turns out, yes. Um, so if you guys enjoyed the video, it's another hour-long one. The previous one was also an hour long. I'm gonna make sure this one saves this time. And hit that subscribe button, please. But even more for our channel, the interactions, like share it to your friends, but the likes and the comments um, are what seem to actually bring this into other people's feeds, not just the subs. I get only a very, very small percentage of people subscribe to the channel that actually see these videos. I wish there were more, but and we're nearing that 1,000 mark, which will open up a bunch more on YouTube for us. But yeah, keep an eye out. I will have an unboxing and probably like initial impression, probably not a review of the H6 Airs after you reached out and said like, hey, yeah, these are based on MV1. What are your thoughts? And I'm like, they what now? This very much reminds me when IAI worked with, ready for this, Fnatic as well. IAI worked with them, and they basically took their TMA2 headphones, I think it was their DJ ones, um, and shipped it as a bundle with a detachable boom mic as Fnatic's first Fnatic gear after they bought Funk as their first headset. This reminds me a lot of that, and it's coming from, and they even say tested with Fnatic. So the guys over there do know something about at least what they want in audio, because they've pulled this trick before where they basically like, hey, just give us a pro audio headphone with a mic on it, you know? And that just hit me at the end there. I'm like, wait, the guys that partnered with IAI were also Fnatic. Um, this is making even more sense now. After they brought them in for the like the InZone brand. Um, I think they might have had an effect on what's happening there. And you can obviously see the start with these guys, the Inzone Buds, which if you guys need, and I would not buy them thinking you're going to primarily use them on Bluetooth. The reason being is it's just clunky and you need to have that compatibility. But if you're like me and you're primarily going to pop out that USB receiver and pop it into your side of your laptop, pop it in the top of your desktop, pop it into your work PC or your dock, and you just need it to work like that. And I think it sounds half decent. It does still have a fully wireless Bluetoothy headphone sound to the mic. When I normally use the Mod Mic wireless and I switch to these, people at work notice, they're like, ah, everything all right with your mic? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just using the wireless earbuds today. And they're like, ah, yeah, I can tell. Um, well, they are different devices on a different level. Um, and like you'd have to have some sort of boom thing coming off it. That's where you're almost looking at like the mod mic, what is it, Kimura or something, where you can actually add a boom mic to IEMs. Which if I was an IEM person, I actually don't like that's why I like the AirPods, is because even the pros that do seal, they don't like jam deep in your ear to seal. They kind of like seal the edge, like the bigger opening. That is much more comfortable for me. These are surprisingly comfortable. I did swap out to the Comply tips, so those will be down below in the description more than likely with an affiliate link. My suggestion, get the 3-pack, or if you want a different brand, a bunch of brands make these now. Buy the different sizes, because just because you're a small on a silicone tip does not mean you're a small on a Comply tip. Even depending on the different headphones you're using, because they have different diameter like plugs in the middle. On one of my pair of IEMs, I'm a small Comply tip. On the AirPods, I'm a medium. On these, I'm a medium. But on a number of IEMs, I'm a small. Um, that's actually part of the reason why I didn't go to the Moondrop Chew 2s, is because they made the pipe, I forget what it's called, that has like the tip of the driver in thicker. Um, and that was uncomfortable to me. Like, yeah, they're like, oh, it sounds better. Let's put a bigger driver in, yeah, and I'm like, I don't care if I can't, because I can actually put for IEMs or for like they're technically IEMs, but they're very entry level. They're like earbuds plus is kind of how I treat them. But they're still very comfortable with the tips they have. For me, but when they went to the thicker, whatever that's called, like the tube or whatever, um, not for me anymore. And I would like one or two more of the original chews with the inline mic, because that's what's the backup to this. If this isn't charged, if this isn't working, you get your Moondrop Chew or your earbuds from your Note 9 with the 4-pole jack, and you slam it into the side of your laptop is what you do. And those always work. And sometimes that's what you got to do. If you got to be in a meeting, or something has come up and you just pulled your laptop out and it hasn't had time to like adjust and correct itself, and Bluetooth's not connecting, sometimes you just got to whip out the wired pair of headphones. That's why I still have, like my MMX 300 from Beyerdynamic as my wired headset. Um, and we'll add the H6 Air to that. If you guys have any questions about, like what I did in Windows here for the setup, or how I set up the actual just sound in Windows, you can comment down that below. Um, that interaction, like I said, is what helps bring these videos up and out and share them to the world. Um, and for stuff like this, hopefully I can give you some insight that you may have not have had around like surround sound Windows, binaural audio, and getting that all to work. Um, it is a different niche when it comes to these versus like a standard Bluetooth headset. And that's why, surprisingly, I think these suit, even like if you're in the IT world and need to take calls and at least aren't in a loud environment. That is one thing I will say, is because these come out at like this angle. And I was looking at my left monitor one time, and the person, we don't have cubicles or anything. Um, the person in the desk to my left was talking rather loudly. The people in the meeting could hear that person better than they could hear me because of how the mic for this works. I just had to be very careful about using push to talk effectively in the chat then. So just something to watch out for. These aren't like perfect, but they're. I mean, I bought a second pair. That's how much I use them. And the first pair is still fully working. It's not because they broke or anything. It's because these were even damn cooler than the uh, the other ones, and I like them enough to warrant like, oh yeah, yep. Now what to do with the original pair, we'll find out. Maybe a friend will want them. Maybe I'll stash them at work in case I forget these, or I can just keep these at home, keep the other pair at work. Um, yeah, we'll figure it out because those are still rocking perfectly fine. And hopefully we'll see you for the H6 Air video if you guys are interested, or you can go watch the unboxing of these. Oh, they're so gorgeous, the glass purple. Or the original video where I unboxed these, where I had not heard of these and I bought them from a very peculiar place that you would buy earbuds. But they had a good discount. And yeah, I like where the Sony Inzone brand is going. There's another product from them that wasn't mentioned I might have been mentioned in the video, but not shown. Um, that'll be coming. And so I think they got some good products coming. That happened with Funk, or sorry, Fnatic Gear when they bought Funk as well. Then it kind of petered out. Um, so hopefully Sony, with the big bucks behind them and them trying to do their Inzone brand breaking in the PC gaming, but then now we're seeing that their games aren't really going to PC with PS5. Like they're not doing the single player ports supposedly anymore. Do they then take some money away from the Inzone brand because they're like, yeah, I know we just started you up and you started doing okay. But yeah, the PC gaming is cutting into our PS5 stuff. So we're going to stop funding you as well. Because to me, I think we're on second, possibly third round for some of these Inzone products. They're looking to kind of hit their stride, like leverage the stuff you already know, take the knowledge from the professional gamers, and come up with a decent product. So hopefully we'll see you in the future videos, and check the below for any affiliate links you guys are interested in, and any questions on any of this audio stuff that I can answer, I will. As always, I'm the Profosist, and we'll see you. Peace. Have a good one.